crowdfunding campaign is running to make an independent film here in Lincolnshire. Patricia Buck from West Pinchbeck is the project leader, writer and producer of the venture. I think this is your baby, isn't it?
It is indeed,
This is your
Melvin.
baby.
Yes,
How are you?
Yes, goodness me, what have I given birth to, I wonder?
Well, I don't know. It does make me wonder. So this is a film that you're wanting to produce and create, and it stems from a poem, doesn't it?
That's right, yes. I, in my spare time, I used to be a bit of a performance poet, and in the way of things, I sat down one day and wrote a poem which had some lines of Anglo-Saxon, like you do, and developed that poem and performed it a few times. In order to make sure that I hadn't made a complete fool of myself, I took that poem to some academics to get the Anglo-Saxon syntax, the sentence order and everything's checked properly. And they enthused and encouraged me to develop the character from that poem and write a full saga. I have to tell you the rest of the saga I wrote in plain modern English. So that was 2009. That was fun. And then in 2016, in the Christmas break, when I wasn't doing anything, I was talking to some friends of mine who are filmmakers, and I said, wouldn't it be fun to make a film of this? Yes, they said, and here we are. So it's kind of snowballed.
How does that make you feel that other people have got faith in this as well, that you could turn this dream, if you like, this poem into a film?
It makes me feel two things. It makes me feel deeply privileged, and it makes me feel that I want to say to other people, look, if you have a project or a dream or something that you want to try to do, have a go. Don't be shy about talking to other people about your ideas, because it astonishes me constantly how people embrace what we're trying to achieve. Everybody that's working on this with me is donating their time for nothing. So our costs are material costs. They still exist, unfortunately. Yes. But it is just pure privilege.
Are you a bit of a have-a-go person anyway? Over the years, have you challenged yourself? Have you had a go at things?
I have, yes.
Go on then, what sort of things have you had a go at?
Well, when I was very young, I was a singer-songwriter. I had a bit of a platform there because my dad was involved in the music industry. He was a radio presenter, as I mentioned to you before we came on air. He liked country music, didn't he? He did, yes.
So was your music performing country style?
It was, because I was the teenager in the family, it was country rock.
Okay, country rock, that's okay then.
So you
performed on stages,
I
did you?
I did indeed, yes. Yeah, so I wrote and performed my own songs, and again, part privilege and partly just not saying no to people. I got involved in the London scene for the country music industry in the Wembley Country Music Festival. So I was also able to share some of my songs and some of my time with people from Nashville. So I spent some time with people like Johnny Cash, Jerry Lewis, Tammy Wynette.
Wow, the icons of traditional country music, really.
And I was able to do this partly because I was there on set for the Wembley Country Music Festival working, and partly because people aren't, you shouldn't be afraid of people. People are nice.
Yeah.
And if you talk to people, it's lovely for them as well. Somebody is being friendly to them as well.
What was it like being on stage to an audience? Did you enjoy that?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
I have. I'm one of those personality phenomena. Generally, I'm introvert. I like my own company. I'm a writer, so I spend a lot of time in my own company. And very quiet time. I'm a big reader. But then going on stage, you do put on a different mantle.
You do. You're a different person,
yes,
aren't you?
Yes.
You know,
yes,
you click into this, right? I'm in this mode now, and on you go, and you create a show.
Yes, definitely.
Create a show.
Yeah.
The poem. Give me an idea of the poem then, and why Anglo-Saxon? Had you got an interest in that stage of history, or where did that come from?
Yes. Again, I love history. I'm an armchair. I'm actually married to an archaeologist now, but I'm an armchair historian. He says to me, "Don't say that to too many people." But I'm an armchair historian, so I'm not. I can't claim any sort of academic history prowess at all. So Middle English and the Dark Ages, the stuff you can't find the answers to, that fascinates me. I also am a fan of J.R.R. Tolkien, so Middle Earth and all of the Anglo-Saxon academic knowledge that he had, that he poured into The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
And is that where the poem is set? Is it set in that sort of era?
It's loosely Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah.
It's loosely Anglo-Saxon. It's not historically accurate, and neither will the film be. It's fantasy. But it's fantasy founded in Anglo-Saxon English history.
And is the hope it'll be a full-length feature film, or what is the ambition?
Yes, at this stage, we're aiming to make what is properly titled a British short film. So this version of the film will be a 40-minute version. The filmmakers are already talking about then the extended full-length version. They've started talking about this over the weekend. And
is there a script for the film?
Yeah.
That's all there. It's all done and ready to go.
It's scripted. It's ready to go. I'll tell you about the characters in a moment, I'm sure. But the characters have been reimagined for film, because you can't just have somebody just sort of reciting a poem, wouldn't it? It's all interesting. So the characters have been reimagined for film.
Patricia Buck is my guest in the studio at the moment. We're talking about a crowdfunding campaign to fund the production of an independent film, much of which I believe will be filmed here in Lincolnshire. Let's talk about the characters. You said you had to sort of use a bit of, well, it's your artistic license, I suppose, to create the characters. So have you written the film script from the play?
Yes,
from the poem?
From the poem, yes, I have. In order to enable that, I've created a character whose name is Heartsfelled. So the project title and the title of the film is Heartsfelled, the Identity Stealer. So Heartsfelled is our storyteller. And he exists in a museum of stories. Heartsfelled is ageless. Storytelling is something very dear to my heart, and it's a human condition. You can trace storytelling back as far back as you can trace human beings. So if you can think about sort of Aboriginal and Maori people telling their stories to the stars, African people, people from the American continents, storytelling is so important. The poem is set in Anglo-Saxon times, so of course then you've got the European, the Germanic, the French, the Viking, and the English Celts, and then Anglo-Saxons, and muddled in with all of that, the Roman and the Greek mythology. So storytelling is just phenomenally important to all of us human beings. Heartsfelled is a storyteller, so it is his raison d'etre, his being is to collect, to gather, and to recite those stories. But because he's ageless and timeless, there's something a little bit magical and mystical about him as well.
So, having created this, do you have a cast? Are you in the stages of starting to film yet? Where are you?
Yes, yes to all those questions. Let's talk about the cast first. The cast are wildly exciting to me. They are two groups of people, really. The one group of people are expert martial arts, particularly English, the traditional English martial arts, so backswording and other related English fighting styles that go back also again to the Anglo-Saxon and through the medieval period. So I have a group of people working with me, Pete Buzzsaw Holland, Tina Holland, and their son Zach Holland, and they are professional action actors in film. So Zach most recently was seen in The Boy Who Would Be King, if I'm allowed to mention that.
You can, yeah.
And they regularly work with the Star Wars in the Warner Brothers studios in London, and all sorts of other medieval or films where there's going to be action and jumping about and all that jazz. That's what they do. Zach particularly is becoming, he's just in his 20s, so he's becoming a recognisable star in his own right, I would say.
Very good.
So that's exciting, because I feel as though I'm at the launch of a really important career.
Yeah.
They are also filmmakers, so they are directing and choreographing the piece with me. So they're quite important to what I'm doing.
And have you done any filming yet?
Yes, we have. We filmed in the home of Heartsfelled. So in order to introduce the piece, we've done an opening sequence which is called The Ghosts of Times Past. The filming that we're doing in Lincolnshire is based around Askerfie Hall in Spalding, which is beautiful, and it has beautiful gardens. So the Ghosts of Times Past, Askerfie Hall has been occupied as a home since 1450, and occupied prior to that by the monks of Spalding Priory, and so on. So it's a piece of land that's been dwelled on by people for a long time. The ghosts of times past are those souls, those lives that have existed on that piece of land, who will have influenced stories, some of which Heartsfelled will have gathered and collected. And his museum of stories, it's a secret. It's actually it's in the Undercroft at Askerfie Hall.
Oh.
Well, let's say that the Undercroft at Askerfie Hall is the portal that will take us to the museum of stories.
Don't give too much away. Don't give too much away.
That's right.
We will talk more about this as it progresses, of course. At what stage do you need financial help now? We talk about crowdfunding. Do you need to raise a certain amount of money to go to the next stage?
I am asking people to help us with the crowdfunding project, because everybody on this project is giving their time freely, because they are so enthusiastic. I'm so privileged. They're so enthusiastic about this project. I even spent the weekend talking with prosthetic makeup artists and hairdressers, who really are the bee's knees. I mean, we're talking about people who've worked, again, in big theatre productions, the Game of Thrones type productions on film and so on. They're giving their time free of charge. My actors are giving their time free of charge. My costumier, Julia Gant, and Nigel Gant, who is Heartsfelled, all of this. But in order to cover material costs, obviously we need support and funding.
And how do we find crowdfunding? Where do we find out more about the whole project?
It's Crowdfunder is the name of the crowdfunding facilitator that I'm using. So it's www.crowdfunder /Heartsfelled. And there you'll find that we've got lots of things on offer, from a copy of the special edition book and the film when it's released, through to visit on site at Askerfie while we're filming, or Julia Gant is also a food historian, so she's writing a special cookbook for us of Heartsfeld's favourite recipes from across time.
Fantastic.
So there are lots of crowdfunding. I didn't know this until I became involved. We're not begging for money for nothing. Crowdfunding is an opportunity for people to either pre-book their copy of our film or anything else that is crowd fundraising, or to become involved in.
So people get something back for their money.
People will get something back for their money,
yes, but they're paying in advance, so there's money going into the pot to enable you to carry on with the project. You've got a deadline for this. What is your deadline to get the film sorted?
The film will be released in August 2020. So to remind us all of that, our Facebook page is Heartsfelled 2020, and that does mean that we're shooting through the summer, and we will finish probably filming, bearing in mind again that this is people donating their time. So we will finish the filming, I anticipate, in October, possibly November. It will then go into the editing suite. where lots of magical things will happen, and on the other side then we will have our finished product.
Patricia, we will chat some more as the
Fabulous.
film progresses. It's lovely to meet you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
So there we go. If you want to get involved with that, it sounds incredible, doesn't it? Go to crowdfunder.co.uk/Heartsfelled if you'd like to find out a bit more about the whole project, how you can get involved with that. And I think it is actually quite good to have a deadline, because it means you've got to get on with things. You know that you're aiming for that particular date. We wish them well, and we'll follow the progress.